Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Fourth in a Dream podcast. I am your host, Red. To the left of me, our always handsome commish, Mr. G. How we doing?
Fantastic, man. Dude? Let's just jump right in, man. What in God's name happened in week one?
So, for lack of better terms, I'm going to go ahead and say a lot of shit happened this weekend. From Thursday to Monday night, I've seen some things that I haven't seen before. And then we've also seen some things that are normal, run of the mill NFL sadness. I saw a lot of sadness. If I could break it into
Um,
one word, it'd be sadness.
oh my God. I mean, it was just like every time you like looked at a different screen or like you jumped to a different game on Red Zone or you changed the channel to look at the latest regional broadcast, there was some guy that was probably in a starting fantasy football lineup somewhere that was grabbing a hamstring down on the turf, taking a golf cart ride, man.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been so happy to see a week end and just be like, man, let's just for the people who haven't already been ruled out for the season, let's just hope it's a relatively quick and speedy recovery because it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy.
I mean, everybody knows where we're going to go with this, right? But real quick before we do, J.K. Dobbins, ACL, done.
Achilles,
Achilles, excuse me,
Achilles.
the Achilles.
Ouch.
Other big ones, Deontay Johnson, out for 4 weeks,
Hammy.
hamstring. And then 75 seconds into the Monday night game, all the hype, all the press, all the HBO, the John McEnroe interview, which was great, by the way. Everything, the build-up, the Robert Saleh sitting there during the national anthem trying not to cry. He runs out on the field with the American flag, and everybody's like, man, Aaron Rodgers is here. Jets fans, I'm saying this right now as a Pats fan, I am fucking saddened for the Jets fans right now. Aaron Rodgers, 75 seconds into the game, 4 plays, pop goes the weasel.
Yeah, it sucks, man. I mean, like football fans everywhere have to just. I mean, we got to sympathize with the Jets nation right now. I mean, there was so much build up, so much hype. You know, the trade happens. A sexy pick to win the Super Bowl this year with that defense, and now you got a Hall of Fame quarterback, leading the charge. Super unfortunate that a freak play like that happened so quickly into Monday night. And the really crappy part is, man, is it was like somebody just took a pin and literally just like popped all the air out of that stadium because,
Yeah.
I mean, it was a slugfest. At least for the first you know 3 quarters almost, and then the game started to kind of loosen up a little bit, and we ended up having a really, really fantastic and dramatic finish to the game. And unfortunately, it's all going to be overshadowed by the fact that there was just this monumental injury, right out of the chute, man, and it sucks. It's unfortunate. And
It is.
one more thing. I mean, the VFFFL, man, we had boots on the ground at that game, man. Shout out to Bills Mafia president making her presence felt at the Monday night game. I know it didn't go well in her favor, but I mean, golly, even the league was represented on Monday Night Football.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I will take from this, and I will say, and I don't know if you saw this on the internet today, a bar in Green Bay, Wisconsin has a special going on right now. They're doing it, I believe, 13 weeks of the season, where if the Jets lose, the drinks are free. and this is a sad part of this, but there is karma at the end of this, right? It was on the news, the local news, about the event and what they were doing, and everybody was almost excited when Aaron Rodgers got taken out of the game, which is sad because of how much he did for Green Bay.
Sure.
When that happened, everybody just started putting them back, dog. Just pounding the bar table, ordering drinks, think they have it in the bag. The Jets didn't lose. Those bar tabs were fat last night, buddy. Karma. But with that being said, enough of the sad shit, right? Well, maybe for some of us, it's not quite done yet, right?
Hey, that 0-1 energy is flowing strong in half of this league this week.
It is, and it's flowing very strong on this podcast right now, my friend. I say before we make our picks for week 2 and we get off of this sad train, let's talk a little bit about last week.
Okay. Yeah, we got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah. So real quick, we're going to go over the 6 matchups, including the 5-star from last week. We're going to give a little 30-second takeaway, and we're going to move on from that, right? So last week, Smoke and Joe, Tropic Thunder. What stands out to you?
All right, man. Hey, in this one, CMC, as advertised, comes out with the big strong game against the Pittsburgh Steelers for the Tropic Thunder side, and for Smoke and Joe, man, it's Tua time. It's time for a name change. I mean, Tua came out and dropped almost 30 spot. Yeah, I mean, those are the 2 big things that stood out for me in that matchup.
Christian McCaffrey did Christian McCaffrey things. You know, it's tough. It's tough for Joe. He faced a really good team last week. Put up almost 30 points by a quarterback that probably got a third of his yards that he's going to get for the season in one game. And to still lose by 4 is tough. I'm not quite on that Tua train yet. And I might be a little biased, but if I were you, Mr. Cohn, I would keep your name the way it is right now. You don't need any more heartache there in South Beach, okay? Moving on, my friend. Moving on. We had Mrs. Wine Receiver versus Iron Smoke. What do you got?
Mrs. Kamish gets the dub 111-98 in this one. For me, the most surprising thing on the wide receiver side is probably going to be T. Higgins. I mean, I feel like we should probably just go ahead and scrap this week for the Cincinnati team. Unfortunately, they can't sit back and say that we're on to Cincinnati because of the obvious. But hopefully Joe Burrow gets it sorted out and figures out he does have a wide receiver too that is more than capable of putting up points. On the flip side, for Iron Smoke, Tyreek Hill is just like a video game cheat code.
Yeah.
And I mean, 11 catches for 215, 2 touchdowns. I mean, there's your bright spot.
Yeah, that guy's literally Game Genie. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
When we was kids.
Yeah.
When you had to put the cartridge in the console, but you put the Game Genie in first so you could cheat. That guy is literally NBA Jam's on fire all the time.
No doubt.
Crazy. I mean, on the other side of the ball, wide receiver, I mean, the Cowboys defense scored enough points for the whole team.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, how about them Cowboys? I mean, who really cares? But
well,
nice win.
Maybe in your neck of the woods.
Dude, actually, there's still, I mean, you're from here. There's a lot of Cowboys fans here.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
I bet it's even better down where you are. But moving on.
Yikes.
Baby Billy
Woo!
versus Ass and TDs.
Boy,
This
I
was a
tell you
barn
what, man.
burner.
Yeah, this is one that probably should have gotten blacked out on the local channel. Aston TDs pulls into victory lane, 59-48 over yours truly. Um, for me, I probably need a whole new 16-man roster, but unfortunately, I don't have enough fab for all that. I'm really going to need to get the Baltimore Ravens to get it sorted out on the offensive side of the ball, specifically Lamar Jackson. I can't be getting 6 points out of QB1, man. So this is your cry for help. As far as Aston TD goes, I think the most surprising thing for me on her side of the ball was probably gonna be, oh man. I mean, I want to sit here and just pick on Josh Allen, but I mean, Josh Allen and Darren Waller is who I'd prefer to pick on. But they probably played arguably the two best defenses in the league with the Jets and the Cowboys this past week. So I mean, they get a pass. I mean, this one top to bottom was just ugly, and there's nothing more to say about it that
Yeah,
I have.
yeah. This is a tough one, man. I thought it was going to be quite a bit more competitive. And I guess if you look at the points, I mean, it kind of was, just not in a good way. Tough week, man.
Oh yeah.
Tough week. Not a lot to say there.
Nope.
You got two of probably the top 5 quarterbacks in fantasy scoring less than 10 points. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
So, moving on from that, Poor Decisions, aka changes his name to Mr. Miyagi. I don't get it.
It's got to be some type of like mind trick on you, man. Kind of
It's
saying like,
working. It's
like
working.
he's sensei and you're the student or something like that. I mean, that's my takeaway from it.
Yeah, that sounds like something he would try to portray. Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Is it
Nice.
working?
Not at all. Not at all.
All right. So what we got on the box, man? Nail
We
biter.
it's
Oh,
another. It was a nail biter.
yeah.
You know, it between the second and fourth quarter, because I kind of fell asleep when the fourth quarter started. We were kind of going back and forth. He got the better of me though. 75.78 to 74.3. It's a tough L. It is kind of funny though that in our group chat before the game started, I said that Brees Hall was going to go nuclear on my bench, and his first 2 carries accumulated 107 yards, which he pretty much went nuclear. I mean, a 15 spot out of a guy coming off of an ACL tear, watching your quarterback get taken off the field and to do it in the fashion he did is kind of makes me feel good. The rest of my team kind of makes me feel like piece of shit. So, what are your takeaways?
On the Friday morning oil change side of the ball, man, Dameon Pierce is gonna have to get going. I mean, I know Texas is gonna be the Texans are gonna have some tough sledding this year, and the concerns of negative game script are gonna be real with Dameon Pierce, man. But he needs to get the rock. So that was kind of underwhelming for me as far as the Miyagi side of the equation goes. You know, I know Pat Freiermuth left the game with a little bit of an injury, man, but only one catch for 3 yards and a touchdown, man. That as high hopes as you had, for the Steeler offense going in. I mean, it wasn't even close with the Niners, man. I mean, I guess the question is the Niners defense that good and the Steelers offense that bad, or is it? That's the big thing.
I think
I
it's
think
week one.
there's enough star power on both sides of these rosters, man. They're gonna get it sorted out.
Yeah.
They're gonna get it sorted out. Who we got next?
We have Mr. ATLians, nailed it again, versus Snitches Get Stitches.
Yeah, so for AT Aliens, man, he started a Indianapolis Colts running back in his starting lineup that wasn't named Jonathan Taylor, so that should probably be all the in-depth analysis on that side of the ball. And for Snitches Get Stitches, again, Jamar Chase, the Bengals, man, just an absolutely awful week one. You know, only getting 4 points out of your first round pick has got to be very discouraging. But kudos to him, man. You know, he put his neck out there for Calvin Ridley this year, and after week one, it definitely looks like that is probably one of his better picks this season.
Yeah. Yeah, Calvin
So,
Ridley was a really good pick, man. This is another one, man, that was just it's kind of bad everywhere.
but again, Snitches Get Stitches with the dub, 80-64 over AT Aliens.
Yeah. So our 5-star from last week, Mr. Masturbator and the Jolly Roger. It's kind of close.
Okay, so yes, it turned out to be a very entertaining matchup for the 5-star. But I'm just gonna go on record and say, man, if your kicker is gonna be your leading scorer for the week, and I mean, you know, kudos to Jake Elliott for putting up 18 points, but if your kicker is gonna be leading your charge, man, I I don't see very many scenarios where you're gonna get the dub this, you know, in a particular week. So I guess I'm not shocked by the Jolly Roger losing this one, with Jake Elliott leading the way with 18. As far as Mr. Bader goes, he's the lucky J.K. Dobbins owner, and unfortunately, that one's going to sting, man. So he's going to have to come off some of that fab money. And as I'm looking at more of this roster, man, I do recall seeing Aaron Jones on his long touchdown run kind of grab for that hamstring as well. So Master Bader might have a completely different look next week, but he gets the dub 95-88 over Jolly Roger.
So we got all the bad stuff out of the way now, and the good for some,
Yep.
but the bad for us. Are we moving on to week 2?
Yes. We're on to week 2 now.
On to week 2. So I'm going to start it off with Baby Billy in Iron Smoke. I'm going to put you on the hot seat right away.
All right.
What you got?
Okay. So Baby Billy Baba Bunker is taking on Iron Smoke. Dude, I didn't even score 50 points this past week. How in God's name am I going to pick myself to win? I can't do that.
I wouldn't.
I mean, Justin Herbert's taking on the Titans, man, and I just can't. The points they put up against the Dolphins last week, I get that it's week one. The Chargers offense looks good. Eckler may be a little dinged up, but he still got Keenan Allen, man. As long as Keenan Allen's healthy, Herbert's gonna get his. I'm also taking a look here. Tyreek Hill at New England, man. Bill Belichick does like to scheme out wide receiver one, so it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. But I mean, I'm going with Iron Smoke this week. There's no way I'm picking myself.
It's upset alert here for me. It's upset alert here for me. I think Baby Billy's going to pull it off this week, and this is why. Even though the Ravens won last week, they didn't have the week that they wanted, I believe, on offense. And they're playing the Bengals. And the Bengals also did not have the week that they wanted on the offensive side of the ball. I think that is going to be one of the higher scoring games this week. And I think Lamar Jackson is going to lead Baby Billy's to victory lane. I think Najee Harris on Iron Smoke side is going to have a tough time against that Cleveland front seven. Rachaad White doesn't look good either. And like you said, Bill Belichick's favorite thing to do is to lock down big wide receivers. I don't see a repeat week this week out of Tyreek Hill. And I see Baby Billy's pulling this one off by 1.7 points.
All right.
Moving on.
Who we got next?
Smoking Joe and the old Jolly Roger.
All right. There's two major matchups I see here in these two rosters, right? And it's going to be the Dolphins on Sunday night on the road in Foxborough for Smoking Joe's side of the ball. He's got Tua and he's got Waddle, right? And on the flip side, I've got Kirk Cousins and the rest of the Viking merry men on the road at Philly. Okay, so I could potentially see this matchup right here being the knockdown, drag out slugfest, like down in the mud. We're racing to 60 points to see who's going to be the winner. If there's one guy that I think is going to stand out in these two rosters this week, it's going to be Travis Etienne Jr. at home against the Chiefs. I like the Jaguars in this one to get a little revenge on last year's playoff exit. So I'm going to go Smoking Joe this week.
So I agree with you that a key factor to this matchup is a running back. But it's not Travis Etienne. Chris Jones is coming back from that holdout. He's going to be on that front seven for Kansas City this weekend. Guaranteed. The running back to me that stands out is Jahmyr Gibbs against Seattle. Jahmyr Gibbs touched the ball 6 or 7 times in that Thursday night game and had over 6 yards a carry. He was elusive. He broke tackles. And for some reason, David Montgomery had the ball more than he did. I think that changes this weekend. I think Jahmyr Gibbs has a big game against the Seahawks, and I think the Jolly Roger pulls the 1-1. On Jahmyr Gibbs' Kirk tail in the flex spot, Jolly Roger by 4. Clip it, ship it. Trademarked. Nobody else can use that but me. Anyways.
Moving on.
Tropic Thunder versus the AT Aliens. What you got, dude?
All right. I'm going to start on the Tropic Thunder side of things here. CMC is going to be on the road at Los Angeles taking on the Rams. And, historically, when these two teams have locked up, man, it's usually been a pretty competitive matchup. If you would have talked to us about 2 weeks ago, I would have said this would have been a completely one-sided affair. But you know what? The Rams came to play last week in week 1 and got a big win up in Seattle. So I think that one's going to be pretty interesting. For the Tropic Thunder side, the X Factor this week is going to be Mike Evans taking on the Bears. Baker Mayfield looked competent this past week and decided that Mike Evans was going to be his go-to, man. So I like to see Evans stay hot this week for Tropic Thunder. On the AT Alien side of the ball, I anticipate him making a switch in defense this week and plugging in the Cleveland Browns unit that got off to a very strong start against the Bengals. The Browns are going to be on the road Monday night in Pittsburgh. I know this is going to be like a super tough environment for the go into and play, but as well as I do, defense travels, man. So I tell you what, I'm going to go. Give me the upset in this one, man. I will go up to the Northeast Georgia War Room and take the AT Aliens by a field goal.
Doug's got a lot of holes to fill for me this week. Dak is not going to do what he did to the Giants, to the Jets. Not going to be 40-0 at MetLife. Or no, it's not at MetLife. It's in Dallas. But it's not going to be 40-0 this week against the other New York team. I think he's going to have a tough time against that front seven. Deion Jackson needs to exit Mr. Doug's lineup as fast as possible. He needs help at running back too. And I think that Browns-Pittsburgh game might be a little bit closer than you think. With that being said, I think the game of the week this week, as far as the NFL goes, is definitely going to be that Kansas City Jacksonville game. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is going to throw for 4 tutties. Tropic Thunder by 6.
All right.
I'm not agreeing with you at all this week. And it's honestly not on purpose, but I'm also enjoying it. Because last week I felt like everything you said I pretty much agreed with. I'm glad we're starting to see it through different lenses.
Moving along.
Yeah. The president of the Bills Mafia, Asantidis, versus the president of Patriots something. Friday Morning Oil Change.
Tom Brady
the president
fan club.
of the Tom Brady fan club. For Bills fans that are in the closet. Friday Morning Oil Change. Lead the way, Kamish.
All right, man. I'm going to start on the Asantidis side of the ball, man. And Tony Pollard's going to be taking on the Jets this week, and I don't like that at all. I think he's going to come back down to earth. You figure Josh Allen's going to have to get right against the Raiders, man. You gotta figure they're not going to be putting up a tough a challenge as the Jets did this past week. On the flip side, I look for Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown to get going this week against the Vikings. The Vikings did not slow down Baker Mayfield this past week, so I really have a tough time seeing the Eagles not getting things kicked into high gear. If there was one thing about that matchup that would concern me, it's because it's on Thursday night, and for whatever reason, Thursday night football seems to get a little weird once the season gets rolling. But I'm gonna go with Friday Morning Oil Change, getting to 1-1 on the year.
You're right. I'm not big on picking myself. This one could be a slugfest, though, real quick. With Deontay Johnson out for me this week, George Pickens becomes the number 1 wide receiver in Pittsburgh. Cleveland secondary is meh. I think he could have a good week. Josh Allen is definitely going to get revenge in Las Vegas. Tony Pollard matchup is tough. I think I have an edge there on running backs. I think it's going to be close, but I think I might nudge this one out by the same exact margin that Mr. Miyagi beat me by this week, which I believe was 1.3 points. Clip it and ship it. I don't have a noise for this yet, so 5-star matchup.
Co-main event.
Bomb. Mrs. Kamish, wide receiver versus Mr. Miyagi. Who you got?
All right, man. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but yeah, let's go. We'll talk about that matchup. We still got one more after that one we're gonna have to get to. But
I skipped one. Damn, dude.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? We're not cutting that one.
Nah, we're gonna leave it.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that.
All right, here we go. We'll go ahead and back up. We'll save the 5-star for just another minute. We're gonna masturbator taking on Snitches Get Stitches. Okay. And I got a feeling that my man down on South Beach is gonna make a move this week. I feel like he's gonna put Cam Akers on the bench, going up against the Niners, and I think he might plug and play old Mr. Algier from the Falcons, who had a pretty good week 1, even though he's taking on the Packers this week. We'll see if that comes to fruition or not. On the flip side, Masturbator's got some holes to fill, man. He has Aaron Jones is probably going to be questionable, and J.K. Dobbins is out, man. And I'm sorry. I'm sitting here looking at this bench. He's got Zeke, man. And honestly, as I was watching that Pats Philly game on Sunday afternoon on the split screen, when I saw Zeke put that ball on the turf, man, I thought Belichick was going to cut him at halftime. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, oh, he gone. Just like that. I tell you, I'm looking at this. I think Master Bader has too many. He's got too many question marks this week, and he got really dinged up in week 1. So I tell you what, man, I'm gonna go with Snitches Get Stitches 2-0, 2-0.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I don't believe I just did that, but that's funny.
It's all right, man.
If you can't tell, your boy's tired today.
It's been a long week.
But after me just saying that I wasn't going to agree with you, I'm now agreeing with you twice in a row. Master Bader has way too many holes. His number one running back right now is Bijan Robinson. He looked good. He looked good in his first start in the NFL. But Tyler Algier did get the ball quite a bit. It's going to be interesting to watch this matchup because they're facing each other in fantasy this week. I think that one's going to be real fun to watch. But other than that, man, I mean, he's got his pick between washed up Patriots running back Damian Harris or also washed up Patriots running back now Ezekiel Elliott. Does he play both? Does he put Mike Williams in? Gabe Davis? Who knows? But I don't think he's going to beat Snitches this week. Give me Snitches by 15. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So 5-star now, right?
I mean, I guess I kind of already, I blew it. Maybe that mind control shit is working on me, huh?
There you go.
Yeah, wide receiver, Mr. Miyagi, go for it.
So I'm gonna start with Mrs. Commish on this one, and she's got some matchups this week that I don't like at all. All right, Dalvin Cook's going to be going up against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys basically stuffed Saquon Barkley this past week, and Mostert is going to be on the road against New England. And as much crap as I'd like to give you and the Patriots, Bill Belichick can put together a pretty solid defense, and they definitely came to play after Philly's opening quarter. They definitely kept New England in that ball game. So I think Mostert's gonna have a tough time on the road at New England, but I mean, say what you want about the Dolphins, man. They seem to always end up playing New England tough. So that's gonna be that game's gonna be nip and tuck. For Mr. Miyagi, Joe Burrow's he's gonna snap out of it, man. He's too good of a talent. I know they got a home game against a divisional opponent in Baltimore. I think he's gonna get it going. And honestly, man, I think it might be T. Higgins. And if he gets T. Higgins going on the opposite side of the ball for wide receiver, man, that's not gonna be the winning recipe for Mr. Miyagi. So, God, guess I'm gonna have to make a sound business decision here, man. I'm gonna go with the upset this week. That high score projection from ESPN is usually the kiss of death, man. So give me the wide receiver by 6.
That was a business decision. Strictly a business decision. This one's tough, man. There's good matchups here that favor both teams, but there's just as many bad ones. I don't want to get into it too much, even though this is the 5-star. To me here, the difference, it's probably going to be Joe Burrow. The man's going to go nuclear against Baltimore. Yeah, give me wide receiver by 3.
All right, man. Sounds like it's time to put a bow on week 2.
I think it is. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a better, healthier week 2 than some of us had the pleasure of dealing with. Don't forget, if you like these podcasts, like them, hit the subscribe button, turn the bell on so you can get notifications. G, do you have any parting words?
Nah, all the league dues have been paid up, man. So we're good this week.
I'll bet.
We're good.
Until next week,